Hey, it's Alex from Red Rover Roofing. I wanted to make a quick video explaining how can you identify hail damage on shingled roof or asphalt shingles. So you probably got hit with hail, or you had someone come and tell you that you've got some hail damage to your shingles. The first thing is to figure out how recent the event was. When hail hits and it's large enough size, it's going to knock the blue-green algae that grows on the north side of a shingled roof. It'll knock that off, so you'll get these basically like clean marks on the roof. We refer to them as spatter marks, and you can generally gauge as that hailstone hits. It cleans off a spot and it'll leave a circle. It's a pretty darn good indication of how large the hailstones were that hit there. Now, obviously, in a hail event, not all the stones are going to be the same size. So you can have small ones mixed with large ones, but it will give you a pretty accurate idea of the size and severity of the hailstones. Now, the issue is, as time passes, the algae is going to slowly grow back. So that means basically the longer after the hailstorm, the less you're going to be able to rely on that as a good gauge as to whether or not there is hail damage to the shingles. Next, just looking at the size of hailstones, it's a pretty contentious topic. Obviously, roofing contractors and public adjusters and policyholder advocates are going to be pretty kind of lenient on the minimum threshold for what size hail you need in order to damage a roof. A insurance company or adjuster is going to be much more of the stance that it needs to be a certain size in order to do damage. So most of the time they'll say, oh, it's got to be at least an inch in diameter, or 3/4 of an inch. In my experience, unless the hailstones are really hard and the wind is blowing or gusting very significantly, you are probably going to have at least 3/4 of an inch, if not greater, size to be able to damage shingles. And the other half of that is going to be the condition of the shingles, and some of them are going to stand up to hail better than others. So when we kind of look at the different types, there's going to be 3-tab, which are the very flat builder grade shingles, and for whatever reason, 3-tab shingles stand up to hail incredibly well. I mean, I've seen 1.5-2 2-inch hailstones hit a 3-tab roof and do almost no damage, and then the neighbor who had the same caliber of hail hit them. They have an architectural shingle that's oftentimes a lot newer, and that's smoked. So for whatever reason, 3-tab shingles just stand up really well to hail. It's kind of their only redeeming attribute. Now, architectural shingles in general are going to start taking damage on when the hailstones are solid and around 3/4 of an inch or so. The way to kind of like understand the extent of the damage is looking at the shingles themselves. What happens is the hailstones will hit the shingle. There's certain parts of the roof that are more susceptible to being damaged, and those are going to be the ones that are unsupported from underneath. So when you have your ridge or your hips, where there's two different roof planes coming together, the shingle that connects those two is called the hip or grid shingle. Those are bridging that gap, and they're not laying flat on top of plywood or any sort of decking. So they can essentially get punched and crunched easier. And so the first place to look generally when assessing hail damage on the shingles themselves is going to be the hips and ridges. The way that the bruising appears, that's what we refer to it as, is a hail bruise. So hailstone hits the shingle. Inside the layers of the shingle are, the top is the granules. Underneath that is going to be basically this like fiberglass mesh that the asphalt like kind of meat of the shingle is embedded into that fiberglass. So hailstone hits can either impact those granules, forcing it down into the shingle, or they could just like knock them off completely, and then down underneath it, the fiberglass mesh or like kind of skeleton of the shingle will fracture Okay, so that would be a very significant hail hit. Goes all the way through, boom, boom. The function of the shingle is totally compromised. A lot of insurance adjusters are going to look at that and say, hey, yeah, you have to have bruising in order for the shingle to have been damaged by hail. But in reality, what we're trying to assess is, was the roof, the total, potential longevity or useful life of the roof, was it impacted or reduced because of this event? So if you have a hailstone that hits and it knocks off those granules, now the inner core, the asphalt part of the shingle, is exposed to UV rays. So even if it didn't necessarily break the fiberglass infrastructure of the shingle, it still has impacted the longevity of the useful life of the shingle, because now the UV rays are eating up at those spots where the hailstone hit, and so it's no longer going to last as long as it would have had there been no hail event. Now, when insurance adjusters are assessing damage to a roof, they will look at it in terms of kind of like getting sample size or samples of all of the different faces of the roof. So some of them will define it by north, south, east, west. Almost always, in my experience, they're going to say front, back, rear, right. And what they want to see, this is very dependent on who the carriers are and what their adjusting guidelines are, but they're going to want to see the hail bruising on multiple faces. So in order to assess that without having to climb around and look at every single piece of the whole roof, they're going to basically say, okay, on the front, let's take a test square. And so they'll measure out a 10 foot by 10 foot section, and now we have 100 square foot sample area to examine and document, okay, this is how many hits we could find on the front. And then they can extrapolate out that measurement, basically looking at the whole roof and say, okay, across the entire front, we have 8 hits per 100 square feet. And then across the right-hand side, we have, 7 hits per 100 square feet for the whole right-hand side, and so on and so forth. Some of them are going to require at least 2 of the faces have damage, or some of them say 3, and then they also kind of have their own guidelines as far as the hit per square. So it varies so much, because an adjuster who's up on the roof could have a different guideline, like they could only need potentially 6 hits per square, whereas that same company, if instead of the adjuster being on the roof, they sent up an inspector, that inspector could need 10 hits per square in order for them to total out that slope. So it really is kind of like a comprehensive and working knowledge, because it's always changing too. That's the other thing, and evolving, and depends on the influx of leads that they have. If it's like a really big or of claims that they have, if it's a really big event, they will potentially like loosen up on the guidelines and allow the adjusters to work quickly and process a bunch of claims, and so they don't really nitpick, and they, there's some instances where they actually don't even climb up on the roof, and if the weather data, if they could pull a hail history report and it says, hey, the hail is that probably hit at this address is greater than whatever the threshold is, so 2 inches, let's say, then all they need to do is find like one piece of confirming evidence around the perimeter of the house that confirms that a hailstone or that the hailstones that hit that house were that size. So they could, in theory, pull up to a house, hail report says 2-inch hail fell here. They look at the garage door, and they can find a ding on the garage door that substantiates the 2-inch threshold. And then they can all of a sudden just say, okay, yeah, I'm paying for the whole roof, which obviously that's great when that happens, but it's pretty rare. So main key takeaways are, when you're looking at the roof, it needs to be not just one section or not just one area on the shingle reveal. The hits have to be random, because otherwise it's going to probably be like a manufacturer defect or an issue with weathering or something like that. So you want to see random hail placement on the shingles, as well as like kind of spread out throughout a square. Obviously, if there's trees that are covering the house, that's going to affect how the hailstones could have hit. But ideally, you want to see bruising to the shingles, the field shingles bruising to the hips and ridges, dents and dings around the house, to the gutters, to the downspouts, to windows, to garage doors, to the different roof accessories. So your ventilation, the different soft metals that are up on the roof, you want to be able to see those also having similar size hits as to what you're seeing on the shingles. And then also, if you do have that blue-green algae that's grown and the hail event was pretty recent, then seeing spatter that corresponds as well with the size of the hail that you're, or the event that you're assessing, if that roof was damaged from that event. Alrighty, that's it. It's Alex from Red Rover Roofing. You can find me on Instagram. It's Alex the Roof Daddy. Check us out online, redroverroofingco.com.